system, but whatever.
Okay, well, before we start, I want to start with a question.
Okay.
Because we like to begin with a question. And my question for you is, what's the worst piece of advice someone has ever given you when you're going through something hard?
I think, I don't know if it's a bad piece of advice. It just wasn't great at the time. And it's like, you'll make it through. Like it doesn't feel comforting necessarily at that point, but,
I should probably start with funnier questions than these heavy questions.
You ask way too serious of questions. That's all right.
Hey, okay, here we are.
So, I'm Chris, and this is Steve, and welcome back to Not for Sunday Mornings. So we are in our next episode, and this is our series on questions kids ask. And our question this week was, why do bad things happen? I had to look. That was bad.
You don't know?
I apologize. I did, but I froze for a second.
Well, this is interesting because this is one that neither you or I preached.
That is right, yes.
And so we get to grade Silas, and he can't defend himself. So this is going to be awesome.
It'll be fun on our parts because there's no hot seat for either one of us.
I will say to start, I'm even not blowing smoke. Not that I'm hoping he'll ever hire me, but I think I have really thought about it. I think that might have been the best sermon I've ever heard. I mean, ever preached maybe in my entire life.
Yeah, I'm
not even kidding.
Because number one, like it was a hard sermon to begin with. Like, I'm glad I didn't have this one. I know you're glad you didn't have this one.
Oh no, I had talked about it previously a few years.
We had, but this is a difficult.
It was.
This is a difficult message because of the topic, but I was thoroughly blown away by it. Like,
not just his content,
not just the message, but like how he did it. Like, he was very smooth and everything, and like it just kind of flowed. And
it was very, very layered. He didn't touch on some things. Like, he briefly talked about by his stripes we're healed, and like that is such a deep line that he kind of glossed over. I mean, it was very, very rich and multi-layered beyond what I think we just heard. And I'm the way it was crafted, I was blown away, honestly. I listened to it twice.
There's a lot more, but usually you listen to it once and which is enough.
Twice. Yeah.
I mean, and that's generally enough. But no, I agree. It was well presented. It was very in depth. I think it was masterfully done in that he, like you said, wove those ideas in and not necessarily didn't stick on them, didn't land on them, put them out there, which I think that's a good thing is if you're really sitting in the audience and you're really paying attention, it really should stir more questions in you. And I feel like the way he did it did that. And so now the goal is to our audience members here that mostly I think come from our congregation.
You talking about our audience in this podcast?
Yeah, like
the two of you.
I think there's 3 or 4.
I don't think there's 3 or 4.
Well, like I said, couples. So,
I've seen the numbers.
But I think the question to them and to the people who sat in there is, so what did you do about those questions? Did you go study more? Did you go find, really that's what we should be doing as we're challenged. And
I think so. I was blown away by it.
No, it was great. It was really good.
Usually I like having like you or Daniel speak because it's easy to follow you guys. Because come on,
Yeah, but now, simple.
Now I got to follow this guy.
Simple-minded people with simple-minded
I'm
speeches.
kidding. I'm kidding. So he did. So it's gonna be a little bit different because we're not gonna be able to talk about
and we can't ask him his thoughts or anything like that. But I think we can. I think the goal is we're going to try to follow a similar, but just it's going to be more conversational instead of, filibustering and all that.
So one of the first things he said was, he says, "I don't know."
I have that too. All right. This is good. We don't talk, just so everyone knows, we don't talk. We don't talk about this beforehand.
You can tell by the awkward pauses.
Yeah.
So I thought, okay, so somebody comes into the office, they just lost their child. I don't know feels incredibly unsatisfying. But why is that actually a faithful answer?
Well, I think it's more. Okay, so I'm going to start with this way. I think it's uncomfortable for us to say that. I think if you go to an average Christian and they're asked that question, why is suffering happening? I think we feel like we have to have an answer, right? And I think the answer can be, I don't know. And I think we need to find solace and comfort in that, because there are a lot of things, like, we can defend our faith, but we just don't always know what's in God's plan. We don't, and this is going to be, I'm going to tiptoe a little bit here because I think it opens to a bigger conversation. But I think it feels like if you say I don't know, like either like you're a bad Christian or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's okay to lean into it, because I think just because we don't know why the sufferings happen doesn't mean we don't understand the suffering, and we can lean into the empathy side of it more. And I think that's more important for us from a Christian standpoint, is to look at the empathy side and like Christ never explained why bad things happen to people. But he leaned into the bad thing and he comforted the person when that happened, right?
Yeah.
And I think if we're really going to be Christ followers and do what our Lord has exampled for us, I think that's really where we need to lean into more.
Yeah.
And it's come in and say, I don't know why that happened, but let me help you.
Yeah.
Or let me comfort you. What more can I do for you?
Yeah, we grieve with those who grieve and rejoice with those who rejoice. And yeah, I don't know. It's I thought it was a neat way to start and kind of lower the temperature in the room and then build from that, you know, so yeah.
Yeah. I thought it was interesting, his take on Job, because for a long time, Job was one of my favorite books of the Bible. Not because of the whole Job suffering aspect. Like that really never interested me in that book. It was more the second half of the book that was more of my interest, when God kind of rebukes Job for a little bit.
Yeah.
I always found that just I found God's conversation in that part. Neither here nor there on that. I feel, and this goes back to the I don't know, it's interesting because Job's friends are us, right? Like we feel like we need to rationalize and explain, try to find a rationale as to why that happened. But I think the interesting part about Job is it answers the question of, it's not a punishment.
Yeah.
You know, suffering's not a punishment, and it doesn't mean it's good, but it's not a punishment. You know, so it was something interesting that I found in the sermon as he was talking about it.
Yeah. Speaking of Job, he said, Silas says, Job repents not because he asked questions, but because he demanded answers. Mm-hmm. And so, is there a difference between questioning God and putting God on trial?
Oh, for sure. Because I think questioning God is part of our humanity, in all honesty. I mean, you go back all the way back to Abraham, right? And you know, one of the first things is, and I always love it, is his negotiating with God. Like, hey, can you save Sodom and Gomorrah? You know, if there's just 10, you know, give me. And he negotiates them down. And it's not that God changes. God knows that Abraham's going to do that, right? Yeah. But it's interesting to watch Abraham be bold in that, in all honesty. But putting him on trial, I think, is a totally different thing, because now you're accusing him of doing something, and it's not really, he's not the author of that. And so I think it's okay to say, why did this happen, or what's going on? How, you know, trying to understand. I think when you come with the framework of understanding, it's a totally different thing than accusatory.
Yeah. He says he allows Job to vent. Is there anything we shouldn't say to God?
I don't think so. I mean, I guess what's your
thought
on that? Huh?
You ever swear at him?
I don't know that I've ever sworn at God.
I'm asking for a friend.
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know that I've ever sworn at God. Like, I think it's more. I don't know how angry. I know I've been angry, but I don't know if I've ever been that angry. I'm not an emotional guy.
No, you're not. No emotions.
And I know you know that.
Trying to pull you out of here. It's like, come on.
But no, I don't think I've ever sworn at God. But I know there's been a lot of why, or like, there's been pain, you know, when it's come to stuff. But I don't know if I ever fell into I accused him of something doing wrong. I'm not trying to say that to sound haughty. It's just one of those things.
I have. So
that's okay. Like, but I get that. No, I mean, I get it. And I think that's the thing when you read Job, it's like Job doesn't. And it's like, I don't understand how Job couldn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
In all honesty, like if we're going to use Job as the mark of suffering, like how Job could go through everything that he went through and have the crappiest friends in the world, you know, in all honesty, when you read it, it's like, man, they lay on him. It's like he's already suffering, and then they add another layer to that suffering. Like it's suffering reading what they're saying. And so I get it. I don't think it ever hit me.
I got a question this week from a friend, and he hinted around, I'm going to read it this way, but could God stop suffering? If God really is all powerful, why not stop this cancer, this one accident, the one tragedy? If he knows who's going to be murderers and child molesters, why not have a miscarry before they're born? Like, why? How do we live with that?
I think we have to live in an in-between space on that, because I don't think, in my opinion, we know God's not ever the author of sin because he's holy. He can't be. And I don't think it's apathy to not do anything about it at the same time. But I think, and it goes back to, I think, what we were talking about earlier when we said, I don't know, right? I think Silas said it too, if I remember correctly. He talked about a puzzle piece and right? And I've always kind of looked at the way God handles things in that regard and the same analogy, like when you're putting together a puzzle, like if all you got is a single puzzle piece, you have no clue what that puzzle's about.
Yeah, unless you have the box.
Well, but that's the thing. But God has the box, right? That's the problem is we don't have the box. And so like for us to sit here and say, well, God doesn't do it because of this, or God doesn't do it because of that. Right. I mean, we're speculating and we're guessing, and we're probably so far off from that picture. I think part of it is that it's the same reason why sin exists, period, in the world. Like, it's not that God couldn't wipe out sin. He did, actually, it just hasn't finished, right? And that kind of goes into the story that we'll probably talk about that Silas told at the end, right? Yeah. The line he used was, he's like, he healed her, just not in her timeline.
Yeah, that was a great line.
And I think it falls into something like that.
Yeah. I think something we say, too, as we're having these conversations, is a lot of these conversations don't happen this way. Like, a lot of these are pastoral, knee-to-knee and eye-to-eye conversations. So it's hard. I don't want people to hear this, and it could be, like, cold. I definitely, like, it's very black and white. And there's, like, a lot of these are, like, intimate conversations. Ooh. We should have it in person, not, like, over a podcast. When it comes to the suffering and the pain and the hurt and the loss of anything, I don't want to come off cold in this moment, you know what I mean? So,
no, I agree. I think this conversation that we're having and that people are going to listen to, I think it's important because I think it brings out, it's first of all, it's removed from the moment. Yeah. Right. So it's always easier when you're not in the moment to have a conversation like this. And it goes back to when we say, I'll go back to that first question that I don't know. Yeah. It's not being cold. It's not being callous. It's being honest and truthful in that. And so it's we're never going to be able. Here's the hard part: is we're never going to be able to assign a reason ever. This church. What are we now in this building? 15 years?
51 years.
No, in this building.
55 years.
Yeah, it's whatever.
A long time.
It's a long time. It's been over 10 years.
That's like, 15, 16 years.
So before we moved into this building, we were doing church in the movie theater in town. For people who don't know, though. And we had a year, it was a bad year. Yeah. And we had 3 deaths within like the span of like 2 or 3 months. And 2 of them were children. And how do you answer why to that? How do you answer, how could this happen? How could a loving God do that? You can't. Like, there's just no way we can rationalize that. It doesn't mean that God doesn't love. It doesn't mean that God isn't holy. It doesn't mean that God's not all powerful. Which is funny because I thought like Silas's opening to the sermon, like I thought I'd be answering a question like, could Jesus microwave a burrito that's so hot that he
can't touch it?
Touch it? Yeah, like it's one of those types of questions, right? It's a philosophical question that we just kind of have to wait to get the answer to. And it's hard, and nobody wants that because when you're in that moment, you want the answer to that.
Yeah.
Because you're looking for closure. You're looking for a rational explanation for it. And I just don't think our puny little minds can understand the rationale sometimes behind it.
Yeah. I just have a couple questions left.
Okay.
One is like, the sermon, I think, naturally raises the question, everything happens for a reason. Mm-hmm. Do you believe that?
That's a loaded question. Yes and no. I do, because I think everything has a purpose somehow, some way. I don't think things are truly 100% random. And I would even speak to that like from a science standpoint. Like when I study science, there's not a lot of true randomness that happens. There is, but like it's very difficult to point it out, and because you can usually find a cause or rationale behind what's happening. So I think, and again, this is where my puny little human mind comes in and says, I don't think that randomness is really there. I think there's a rationale and a reason. What that is, I can't tell you at all. I can't even begin to come in and tell you why that is, but it is.
Well, the last question I have, and I don't know where you're at, but I want to finish with the story of our little girl. Mm-hmm. So if you have other things, what I want to...
Oh, you want that to be the last part?
Before we get to our our quickfire questions.
Yeah, so I think, and maybe we already addressed this, but the passage that of James, right? Mm-hmm. Consider it pure joy, right? Yeah. So
that was brilliant because, again, we talk about context a lot here, and he brilliantly dissected that to explain what wisdom literature is and isn't, and how we read.
Yes.
We read texts. Again, I think
we read the Bible as though
it's flat. It's all one.
It's all one thing. Right. There's only one writing style to it.
Right. And so when you read wisdom literature, there's a lot of hyperbole. Mm-hmm. And so then to pull in Proverbs, he pulled in a couple of Proverbs to talk about that, and then showed, the comparison here in James. Again, I think, very deep, and but he was able to do that, I think, so smooth. And again, when he got done speaking, I said, I want to speak like that. Like I was just blown away by how easy he made it look. And really, if people really wanted to study that, they go down quite a bit on that. And it was awesome.
I agree. Awesome. I thought it was one of the more brilliant moments of the sermon. Yeah. So based off that, I just had a couple questions. That verse. Number one, I guess, how do you define, because I think he made this as a point, but how do you define the difference between joy and happiness?
Yeah, I think happiness is always based on happenings, the word itself. And so whatever is happening affects my happiness, So if it's a good day, then or a bad day, where joy, I think, runs joy is below the surface of everything. So I can be joyful in the midst of sorrow, and I can be joyful in the midst of pain, and not celebrating the pain, but there's just an underlying current of joy that carries through that.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of the old song that we probably both know that learned that I've got the joy
down in my heart,
right? Where? Like it's right there underneath the surface. Yeah. It's there. And it's constantly there, but yes,
and it doesn't come out. And I think it comes out in tears often. It doesn't. That's the thing. I think I asked you a question. What does somebody say to you? Worst piece of advice. The worst thing I get is pray about it, or like, oh God, don't give me that garbage. I think that's where it's like this fake. That's not real joy. Comes out in tears. I can cry and weep and mourn with somebody. I went to the hospital today with a guy gonna have open heart surgery this week. That's painful. That's terrible. But there's still a spirit of joy underneath that. But it's not that fake. Hey, everything's gonna be all right. Just pray about it, guys. come on, man, be real with me. You know what I mean? And that's why I think real joy is underneath that surface. Real joy allows me to cry with you and to sit with you and to mourn with you and to try in whatever minimal way I can to carry a little bit of what you might be carrying, knowing I can't, you know, and like be present with you. That's where the joy, real joy comes. It's not putting on a smile. Oh, come on.
I think about like, we had a mutual friend that passed away years ago and,
who?
Les.
Oh, Leslie Coach. Yeah, he was the man.
Yeah.
He was awesome.
And he was amazing. And like, gosh, I remember the last visit I had with him. And I remember when I found out, like I was actually in Disney World when I found out that he had passed.
Yeah.
And it broke my heart, but at the same time, the reason why it broke my heart is because there was so much joy for the man. And there's still stories I can tell about him that I laugh at those stories. Because of who he was and his belief in Christ, in all honesty, and because of my belief in Christ. So I think you kind of answered my other question was, can grief and joy coexist?
That's because I'm good.
You are. You did well on that one.
People we really don't go over any of this.
No, we don't. We don't.
We don't want to waste it.
We specifically said
no talking.
This season, no talking. Which is hard for us, but
it's been the best season of my life.
So far.
Yeah.
We've got a new season we're coming up on. How about we suffer because Jesus suffered?
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on that?
I think that's beautiful. I think that's one of the most beautiful things. I remember there was an incident, and I'm not going to share it because it's very personal to my house, but there was a painful moment in raising my children. And I remember praying with them in the middle of that and saying, this is where we meet Christ, is in the pain, is in the hurt, this is where we meet him at, is in this moment where it's so dark and so deep. This is where he is at. And so that for me is just, of course. Yes, of course.
Yeah. In fact, I think that's what James was getting at, in all honesty. Like, if we're going to go back and tie it into that James passage, I think that was James's message, that we suffer because Jesus suffered. And it's not that we, and here's the funny thing, because like you look at other, not religions, but other practices of religion, and you go back even to medieval times, like people inflicted suffering on themselves because they mistook that James passage, right? The idea of hair shirts or self-flogging, and you even still have people who crucify themselves today because they want to suffer with Christ, and it's like that's not the point.
No.
Like that, it's not that physical suffering.
No.
It's different.
Well, what people don't know is if you took your shirt off, you actually are wearing a hair shirt because you're like a bear with all that hair.
You have me mistaken for someone else because I am definitely not that person. I think you're pushing on. That was who I was thinking of.
I do, man. Oh, he's hairy.
All right. I'm at the story.
Okay, so Silas finishes again masterfully the story about a little girl who has cancer, and he again walks through it so wonderfully. Doesn't share the details and all that, but comes to the point where the little girl asks mom, "Why isn't Jesus healing me like he does in the stories you read in the Bible?" Which is brilliant. And then she says, "When I meet Jesus, the first thing I'm going to do is kick him in the face." And I think that is remarkable, and it got a laugh in the room purposely again. As a communicator, he's setting you up to knock you down. So he gets that, and then mom comes back, and mom says, "I think Jesus would let you do that."
Yep.
And so what does that story teach us about the heart of Jesus?
Well, I think it's what, going back to my message from last week, it's what makes Christ the perfect sacrifice. And I think it teaches us, I think the mom is drawing from wisdom in her response to that, because Christ suffered, right? Christ knows before he even suffered on the cross, he knew what it was like to be hungry. He knew what it was like to be thirsty. He knew what pain was like. He knew what heartbreak was like. He and it was what makes him the perfect sacrifice for us, is because he knows us. He knows literally everything, what it's like to be human. He knows those pains. He knows those joys. He knows everything. And so I think... I
think you see it in the woman caught in adultery, where he bends down, he writes in the sand, and he's he's sitting with her. I mean, he lowers himself to this woman's position and becomes one with her in that moment, as far as eye level and person level. And what does he write in the sand? Maybe he writes the names of the disciples who are going to desert him, like everyone deserted her. I mean, I don't know. Maybe
we don't know.
He connects with her though on a level. Obviously, then challenges her and pulls her to something greater and all that. But in that moment of hurt and sadness, he is there right alongside, and so he knows what it feels like to get kicked in the teeth.
Yeah, and I think
falsely accused.
On the other side of that, though, too, is not only does he understand where not only would he understand where that girl is coming from, but his whole mission here about love, right? And it would just be the most outward expression of love from him. I mean, he preached about forgiveness, right? And how many times we should forgive, and the phrase we typically pull from that message is to turn the other cheek, right? And it just would be the perfect. It just would exemplify that perfectly, because he knows that she's angry and that she's upset. Yeah, and I don't think I don't believe that it would ever happen. Mm-hmm. I think that's an earthly sentiment, and I think it's an earthly thought. But I also believe that if we could hold on to those and be in his presence, he definitely would accept that. Yeah. I don't know how you do it, because I know, I just envision, I don't even know how I'm going to get up off my knees at that moment. But
well, we finished now with quickfire questions.
Are you ready to go to that?
Well, that's all I got. You got other stuff?
Oh, man. I did. I had a couple other things that I don't know.
The episode that never ends.
It just started. So I guess one of my questions that I just wanted to push back a little bit on, he talked about perseverance, right? And it was an interesting conversation. So does suffering always produce perseverance? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh, does it always?
Yeah. Like in some level, it may not be in the faith, but in some level, do you feel like it does that?
I think so. Right? If you're hurting, you get over it or you die. And so you persevere, right? I don't know. I
don't know. I was trying to think through that a little bit, because
if I stub my toe, it hurts for an hour. I'm persevering for that hour.
Sure.
So I think on that simple level,
I think though it's for me, my thought process went into, you either persevere in the direction you're going, or you persevere in the opposite direction.
Yeah, you get better or better, right?
Yeah.
And so yeah.
So I don't know. That was just
that was
something
good.
extra, that I had. Simplistic blame. You kind of asked that question. John 9, right? In the disciples were asking why the man was born blind. Mm-hmm. And so I think Jesus warns us against doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Because he asks, who sinned, this man or his parents, right? Because they would assign suffering. And again, it goes back to Job's friends, right? Yeah. What you do wrong, they earned you this prize, that's horrible. And so Christ does warn against that. And I think that's important, because I don't think Silas mentioned John 9 at all. No. Mm-hmm. But I think it's an important passage that we can learn a lot from there. How about this? God doesn't merely observe suffering, he opposes it. Do you think that's true?
Oh, I think so. He loves us. And so how would he want us to see us suffer? I think, you get that. Yeah, I think he opposes suffering. I hope so. I don't.
No, I think so. I just had that idea as a thought. Sorry.
Some great questions.
It was a conversation. Yes, we agree. All right.
Next.
Move on.
I read this book this week called Where is God When It Hurts by Philip Yancey. It was written 30 years ago. And he talks about the benefit of pain, and how as Americans we run away from pain. We try to cover it up, so we take medication when something hurts, but pain is necessary. Pain is good. It's part of the process. It's good. And he talks a lot about lepers, and this doctor tells a story about how they'd wake up and their toes would be gone, and he couldn't figure out what is going on. And what happens in the middle of the night, the rats would eat off their toes, and the people wouldn't know.
Yeah, you can't feel it. And
so that was the thing was pain is needed for a reason. And there's a reason for pain.
Oh yeah, I forgot that he talked about that because again, my mind went into science and like all the years I taught anatomy and physiology, like trying to explain to kids like how important pain really is.
It is.
Like because and really like leprosy is a disease most of us don't even think exists anymore nowadays because it's curable.
It's coming back. Don't worry.
Is it? Leprosy part 2.
Oh, what we got? What else is coming back? Smallpox? Or what's the one that came back?
Mumps, measles, all of them are.
Yeah.
But in my mind, it's not leprosy. Like a common disease that we see nowadays is MS.
Yeah.
That does that same thing where you lose that feeling, and that's one of the really bad parts about MS is that you stop getting pain reception and all that, and you can't react to the world.
Yeah.
And that's what pain is. Pain tells you 2 things. Number 1, that you're hurt because you don't always know you're hurt, right? And number 2, that there's something that's going wrong.
Yeah.
And so, I think that is an important part of pain at that point. I did have a pastoral question for you. Okay.
I'm a pastor. I play one on TV.
And I think this is a question that people, I'm sure people have, but have people ever come to you and say like, in a personal question, like, why has God allowed this to happen to me? I'm sure that's a question that you've gotten, right? And so the question is when somebody asks a question like that, how do we determine whether they're asking for an explanation or they're seeking help? So they're asking just not to suffer alone in that situation. Like, how do you discern that? Do you understand what I'm asking you at that point? Okay, so like sometimes people will come and ask questions because they actually want an answer to that question.
Right.
And I think when it comes to big questions like that, I don't know that I think there's also these opportunities that they're looking for comfort, and maybe it's not comfort in wisdom and knowledge, but comfort in just having that person there and being present, but they're afraid to ask for, hey, can you just sit with me or can you just be with me? And so they come in, that's their 90% is why is this, but their actual 10, their 10% that they're leaving on the table is, can you just be with me? So how do you discern?
So I'm not smart enough to discern. So like that. So anytime anyone comes with that, I mean, just my posture is just to sit and we can work through some answers and try, but the answers aren't going to, at the end of the day, an answer is not going to take the pain away. Like an answer is not going to an answer is not going to bring the child back. An answer is not going to, it's not. So yeah, sure, we can intellectually, sure. But also I think a lot of that is just in that conversation of processing and having somebody to process with and talk with. And again, I'm not a psychologist, so that part I don't, but the spiritual side of it, sitting with somebody, praying with them, being with them, letting them know they're not alone, I think that all kind of plays into that entire conversation. So I don't know if it really matters the reason they come. Again, I think deep down, an answer is not going to suffice. Just because they know, even if they did know, it's not going to help.
Yeah, I think the reason why I was asking that is because I think, number one, as a guy, we always want to solve the problem, right?
Yeah, that drives me crazy.
And it's hard. Like, it's just, I don't know why we're wired that way, but
I'm not a guy. I have been getting more and more comfortable with sitting in let's not try to fix this.
Yeah, it's something you have to learn how to do.
Yeah, let's not try to fix it.
For sure.
Let's just sit.
But I think there's that uncomfortability that people have. And so I was just asking because I feel it's important that people hear that. That it's not about when they ask that question, it's about what we do in that process.
Yeah, I mean, I was at a youth retreat a few weeks ago, and one of my new friends asked me, why did God make my past so hard and the healing so difficult? I'm like, man, what do you say to that? I mean, what do you say to that? I mean, like, you sit, you listen, you pray, you talk, it's just being present, and helping her to see that God redeems everything. I do believe God redeems everything. I was able to tell a story about my kitchen table and how growing up, that table wasn't what it should have been because of my family situation. But since then, God has redeemed that kitchen table. And as a family, we had dinners at the table every day, and it was a thing, and it became a special moment, conversation. So he redeemed that which was broken, and I think he will redeem that which is broken, whether it's this side of heaven or next. He will restore all things. But those won't help in the middle of the pain, And so
no, they don't.
Part of it's just sitting and crying and grieving and having that heart of like, man, yeah. And it's easy to rush to like an intellectual thing and then think you're done with it. And that's, I think, where the coldness, some people come in. Well, God does X, Y, Z. So that's it. Well, you're a jerk. You're a jerk. But you're a jerk. You're a jerk.
Yeah.
You're gonna look at that little girl and tell her, "Well, that's God, blah blah blah." Like, shut up, dude. Like, come on, man. Like, sit with the person, be with them, grieve with them.
I think that's that.
That shows me a person that hasn't suffered.
Well, that
because if you suffered, you know what it's like.
Yeah, I think part of it, and if you haven't had to suffer in that regard, I think that response comes from uncomfortability.
Yeah. I don't make sense to be mean to the person, but.
I think
it's super
because
cold.
I think we are very uncomfortable with pain.
Yeah.
And so much so we're uncomfortable with pain in ourselves, and we're even more uncomfortable with pain in other people.
Yeah.
And we don't know how to react, and so we try to pull the quickest way that we can get away from it, and it's not it's not good. And I think that's where we as Christians need to really work on that and figure out how it is that we can and be empathetic in that.
Toby Mack shares a story. His 21-year-old son lost his life, and Toby found out about it, and he come home, and he's not getting out of bed. He just can't get out of bed. And one of his good friends is actually his worship pastor, came over to the house and just played the piano just for the days. Just played worship music on the piano. Just played the piano. Just filled the house with music. That's like, I get chills every time I think about that. That's not having an answer. Just being with them.
Yeah, just going like if they want to lay in bed, and I've seen it done in media time and time again. But it's that person just laying in bed, and you go over and cook dinner.
Yeah,
whether they sit and eat with you or not.
Yeah,
you bring them a plate.
Yeah.
Like it's being present, and I agree with that wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
All right, ready to do quick
fire questions.
All right, what do you got?
Quick fire. Favorite book on suffering.
Favorite book on suffering.
I think we should have like a shock system. If you don't answer quick enough, you get shocked.
Yeah, well, I don't know how many books I've read on suffering. Like Job.
That might be a problem.
Job's my favorite book on suffering.
That is not
it's
whatever.
Not a book on suffering? How about Ecclesiastes?
You're so lame.
I don't have a good one. What's
yours? The Problem with Pain by C.S. Lewis.
I haven't read that. It's in my.
I
just came across
Where's
it.
God When
recently.
It Hurts by Philip Yancey.
Well, yeah, you just read that one. That's not fair.
In preparing for this discussion. All right, you got some for me or mine?
I do. Mine are going to be a little bit easier for you, hopefully. Okay. Who's more frustrating, Job or his friends?
Who's more frustrating?
Yeah.
I don't know if I don't think any of them's frustrating. Honestly, like I think his friends are how his friends would act, and I don't know how Job could be frustrating. He sat there and took a beating. I don't think any of them. I'm not a good guy to ask that question because I see both sides.
Yeah, I know.
So I don't think.
I get frustrated with the friends.
I don't because I am his friends, and I would want to come up with a solution.
I know, and that's the frustrating
part.
So
I get it. Like, I
see
understand
myself
it.
in them.
I understand it. Yeah.
Okay, go.
Is there a Christian cliche you wish people would stop saying?
Yeah, I'm not getting fed. I know that's off our topic, but that is a cliche I cannot stand at all. Job, Ecclesiastes, or Lamentations?
What about them?
I don't know. Pick.
What kind of question?
It's like Cloud and Mountain. Pick. Just pick.
What? Pick what?
Just pick one.
Just pick one? Like to do what? Like I like it? I don't like it?
Whatever. However you feel like answering
Lamentations.
That. Lamentations. Very good. I feel like that's an underused
That
book.
was a question?
Yeah.
Okay, my last question for you is, should I preach the entire year on...
on Exodus? No. What was the one that we were talking about? Leviticus.
Yes, Leviticus.
No.
I want you to know I've already got 20 sermons.
I'm proud of you for that.
I don't think I can get to 52, but I can get to 20.
You can get to 20? You can't get to 52?
Maybe. I got to 20 right now.
And if you can get to 20, it's a longer book. What are there, like 30 some odd chapters in there?
Yeah, about that, yeah.
Yeah, so.
That was my last question.
Which biblical character asks the best question?
Jesus.
Oh, that's an easy one.
Because it's all he does. If you read the number of questions he asks versus statements he makes, it's a ridiculous amount of questions. And so people that say I ask too many questions, I'm just being like
You're
Jesus.
just following
Stuff
Jesus's. Let's see if I got another one for you.
I answer these questions fast.
You do. Except for whenever you're like, I don't know what that means.
It's just a dumb question. This is the longest airtime ever.
What hymn or song best speaks to suffering?
I don't know.
I have mine.
I think there's a beautiful song, "Hold Me, Jesus" by Rich Mullins.
Okay.
As like chorus is like, "Hold me, Jesus, because I'm shaken like a leaf. You've been my King of glory. Would you be my Prince of Peace?" And I think that's just such a beautiful line. He opens like, "Sometimes my life just don't make sense at all. The mountains look so big, but my faith just seems so small." I think that's just a beautiful song. There's like a loneliness to it, and it's just beautiful. Yeah, not bad off the dome.
That's good. I like that.
I all started singing, but
Mine is "It Is Well."
Okay, yeah, it is well. Yeah.
It just even the opening line, like when peace like a river, right, and when sorrow like sea billows flow, like that's just power.
It is very powerful, very powerful.
So, anyways, okay. So let's say that we're done for this one.
Thank God.
And we'll see you next week.
Well, the beautiful thing about this is we made the people suffer.
We did.
So we taught
now
you what
everyone's been on the suffering end of.
So next week we have a fun sermon. I am actually so excited. I haven't spoken in 2 weeks, and so I feel bad for
there actually.
I feel bad for the people that have to listen to it because I am fired up. Like I have never been this far ahead in a while, and like I could preach today. Like I am ready to go.
Are you done already? It's
I'm really pretty.
We're recording late this week too.
Recording on Tuesday, so I am close to done. I could do it right now.
Okay.
I might do no manuscript and try off the dome. I feel like I own it really well, and I think it's a fun conversation. The conversation is, it started with a question: was the little kid or the child asked, "If Jesus lives in my heart, why can't I hear him?" Mm-hmm. And so the idea is, how do I hear God, or how do I hear Jesus? And so I'm gonna have a lot of fun. We're gonna look at Samuel's calling, and it's awesome. And we're gonna do a fun thing with Scripture this week. Where I think people are gonna stand up when we read and something different. I know, yeah. Because I want to elevate Scripture, and I want to do it so it's not like we don't do it every week, but this week there's a reason for it, and so I got some fun stories in there. I feel, and I hope I don't have too much. That's why I have to write it out because I feel like I might have too much. So.
Yeah,
but that'll make the podcast better.
That goes back to words again because you are at 4,500, 4,000, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So.
That's fun. I'm really excited. So that's excited for that. We also have the blog. You can follow along.
Oh, you know what you forgot was Sunday. You forgot to mention our devotional.
Oh, that's what I meant. The blog. Yeah, the devotional.
Yeah.
You can watch. If you download the app, Lincoln Way Christian Church app, you can follow along. Every day there's a devotional thought that ties with the sermon. And we got that fixed. I guess it wasn't working. I found out, and it's working today. So I fixed it.
You just found out? Like we're 4 weeks into this thing, and
that tells me nobody's reading it.
It tells me nobody's reading it.
So that's pretty awesome. So no, it's all fixed now. Everything's up and running. So that's all going good. So yeah, excellent. So it's gonna be. I can't wait. Next week's gonna be awesome.
Can I before we just say one last thing? Like I do want to celebrate. We had a baptism on Sunday, that's always amazing when we do that.
Yeah, a surprise. The guy walked in and said, "I want to get baptized," and the water was cold.
It was,
but that didn't matter.
That's all right.
It was awesome.
It still happened. So.
It was really cool.
All right. Well, thanks for tuning in this week, and hopefully we'll see you next week.
Keep asking good questions.
All right.
See ya.